بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا، وأنت تجعل الحزن إذا شئت سهلا. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. لله تبارك وتعالى. I praise Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. I thank Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. I ask Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala to send countless blessings and salutations upon Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, his family, his companions, and all those who follow them in excellence until the day of judgment. And I ask Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala to grant us the sincere intention. So yesterday we talked about, in the beginning of the session, three important objectives that we generally intend with our programming on this platform at Masjid Muhammad of Atlantic City. And those three things that I mentioned, they are very important because oftentimes we talk about many subjects, and sometimes by talking about so many things, we forget the importance of what we're doing. So every so often, it is important to remind us what we're actually trying to accomplish. And it's important. And it's funny that every time I come up with these thoughts, something happens like to reassure me that, yo, this is important. You have to talk about this. And those three things, does anyone remember what those three things that I mentioned, what they were? I always like to see we following each other. So I mentioned three things. What were they? That are primary objectives to why we do and what we're doing, what we intend by that. Anyone remember? So I can see clearly your comments. Allah. Imam Genius, you missed class, so you don't know what we were talking about. He said, surprise, I'm Imam Genius. I was listening to everything. So the first one was spreading the correct teachings of Islam by way of the methodology of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah. First and foremost, spreading Islam by the correct methodology of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah. And that in and of itself is the several classes. But in summary, that's the number one priority. Spreading, teaching, learning the Islam correctly by way of the methodology of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah. Number one. Go ahead. Number two. Mm-hmm. So you can put 2 and 3. Nothing? It ain't that slow, is it? So we're waiting. I'm waiting for y'all. No, that's the same as number one. So number two was serving the African American community in particular, and in general, all underserved communities, and giving them access to the knowledge and helping them with their concerns. That's a primary concern because you're talking about people who have generally been neglected. Their concerns, their empowerment, right? So that's why you have a Black Imams Roundtable, right? Because you're talking to a specific group of people whose concerns are not taken into consideration, whose plight is not focused on. So somebody has to do that. So no one else is going to talk about, in general, uh, you know, a wife with kids by more than one man, or that conversation we had last night, rights and responsibilities in those situations. Most people consider that stuff like taboo. Even if it exists, they won't talk about it much. But in our communities, because many of us are converts to Islam, these are realities that we deal with regularly, right? And one of the things that many of us made the mistake when converting to Islam and trying to learn Islam, and I went through it, uh, is that we try to become someone else, either in our speech, in our customs, in our practices, and we even leave our total environments under the name of leaving kufr to go to kufr. It's funny. We leave in kufr to go to a people who are drowning in kufr, but they have the name Islam over top of it. Like, really. I want to be honest. Imam Naim, Samira, y'all just came back from Africa. How much kufr did you see over there? Be honest. I know you saw some good stuff, but how much kufr did you see? Right? There's some Islam and some practicing, yes, but a bunch of kufr, guarantee you. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. And if you listen, you might hear more kufr than you see. Right? That's just real. You go to Egypt, you go to all of these places, you're going to find a bunch of kufr existing too. And many of us think that their Islam is so much better than ours, and it's not. In fact, we are more practicing in our Islam in our communities in terms of the spirit than most of them. No doubt about it. And I would challenge the one who studies well in our sessions, the one who studies, would have learned more about the deen in a more systematic way, right, than most of the people there, except the scholars. Because a lot of these people, even you would learn, they don't live, it's just like here in America. Christians are not Christians, and I don't just go to church on Sunday. The rest of the time, they're doing all kinds of crazy stuff. It's the same thing. So that concept of us, not that we cannot benefit because we can, but the concept of what we got is all messed up is a mistake that many of us fell into. So these platforms revive that spirit. Hey, we can take care of ourselves. I said something to someone yesterday, and it was kind of rough, but hey, sometimes you gotta be rough to get the point across. They were asking me about a group. And I said to the person, I said, listen, man, I've learned a long time ago that they don't give they don't care about us that much. I won't use the harsh terminology. I said to him, they don't care about us. That's obvious. Now, the foolish part is that we keep caring about them or how they think about us. That's a foolish from our side. It's obvious they don't care about you, especially you, the one asking the question. They don't care about you. You know it. I know it. They know it. It's so well known, it can't be explained. We have experienced that. So therefore, the question becomes, why don't you care about you? Since the other has shown you, I don't care about you. I don't care about you. I don't care about your people. I don't care about your cousins, your uncles, your nephews, your nieces. I don't care about none of them. Right? Now, when are you going to wake up and say, hey, wait a minute. Since you don't, let me care about myself and my people. And the other thing is they are telling you not to care about you. Brother, we are Muslims and don't worry about the kuffar. Like everyone in your family is kafir. Like everyone in your community is kafir. Let me give you a wake-up call. In my community, plenty of African Americans are Muslims, even if they don't practice. They're Muslim. In my community, I don't hardly know a family in my community that is not have a connection to Islam in their family, in their friends, everything. I don't know no family in my city, Black family, that doesn't have a connection to somebody who's Muslim. I don't know one. Their cousins, their brothers, sisters. Islam has almost reached every household in my city. I'm speaking from mine. You can look in Philadelphia. It's the same thing. Almost every family has been touched by Islam in the Black community in some way, form, or fashion. So where is this idea of their kuffar and don't be concerned about them? I don't know where you get that from. So I don't understand that. But people are told that. If they be honest. But a lot of times we hate ourselves so much that we're afraid to be honest. Right? And that's problematic. That's extremely problematic. So that's the second point, right? And when we had that concern, even though there was misguidance, there was a push among our people. We as Sunni Muslims, as Ahl Sunnah, have to revive that. No one's going to give da'wah to the underserved like we can if we get it together. So, and as I said yesterday, there is an automatic extension to our Latino community, right? Because they're in the same boat as us, in the same conditions. They lived with us, they experienced with us the same stuff, right? And that's a whole field of dawah that needs to be done. A whole area of dawah, especially in terms of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah, because deviant ideas is being spread in their community now, like it was originally spread in our community in the late 80s and early 90s. In the Latino community, those same ideas that we're coming out of, they're just coming into them because they just be getting familiar with Islam, and what is being explained to them is uh, the same deviant version that was given to us in the late 80s and early 90s. So that is a concern. And I know growing up in the projects, it was us and it was Puerto Rican people, the same. We grew up together, we lived together, we played together, we suffered together, we fought together, same stuff, right? So that's one thing. And for me, I'm unapologetic about that, right? Unapologetic. Straight up. I'll say it. Yeah, that's why we have it. That's why it's intentionally called the Black Imams Roundtable. Intentionally. It wasn't by no chance. Now we intentionally use that term. Uh, and I think it also serves a way of leveling the playing field, right? The third aspect, after we get past that, is us developing a family, village type of cooperation with one another. So, family, once you have the knowledge, once you have self dignity and honor and respect as a people, then you need to work together and cooperate as a family, which is very difficult unless you have the first two understood well. You're not going to cooperate like you need to cooperate if you don't have something that bonds you together and you understand its importance, right? It's extremely important that you say, listen, we share the same religious worldview. We have the same issues and concerns. And now, as a family, we're going to build and protect and serve and develop our communities. You know, I was thinking as I was watching the news, you know, it's funny how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has things. You got the white kid that just done that mass shooting in Chicago. He gets to tell his story. He gets mental health treatment. He gets, all of the things that to help him with what they say he went wrong. But then a week before that, a few days before that, you have the young black man in Ohio who gets slaughtered. Slaughtered. They shot at him 90 times. So even though 60, and that's a lot, anyone who shoots know that if you shoot someone, anyone who has ever handled a firearm and know what they're doing, you don't need 10 shots if you know what you're doing. You don't need 10 shots. If you know what you're doing, you don't need 10 shots. 5 at best as a professionally trained handler of firearms. 5 shots, best. At a moving target, I'm talking about. So when you're talking about, because if you're a good shot and they're police, they should be good shots, right? You know how to take the target down with 1, 2, 3 shots. Easy, right? So the fact that all those bullets were fired, meaning they were trying to execute him, not just kill him, not wound him, slaughter. No way you're going to live. Most of those shots were fired at him while he was on the ground. I'm just telling you, there's no way he's going to get hit 60 times standing up. It's not happening. That's just not going to happen, right? So that's something you to think about. This one killed 7 people, wound something, and they're talking about mental health issues and psychiatrists and therapy, and yeah, you're going to go to jail, Johnny, but but for the black man, that's what you get. And you don't have an assault weapon, you don't even have a gun in your hand, right? And even if you had a gun in your hand, once we got you down, you're no longer a threat. So this is a reality that all those marches we did, all that rioting we did as a people, right? It still ain't changed your reality. You still in the same situation. Every black man who go out that door has to be concerned that this may be your last trip. That's a reality that we face. Others don't face that reality. We do. So therefore, it is essential that we work together, right? And engage our society. And engage our society. Because I don't say all police are bad. I don't say that. I know good police. I know Muslim police officers who would have tried to stop something like that. I know them personally. My own son is one of them. That if that officer stops you, that officer may save your life, that police officer. If it happened to be my son, he may be the one to save your life. If it be some of the young brothers, his friends, he got a couple friends, they're all police officers. Those young kids used to be in my house. If one of them is there, that may save your life. So having them is extremely important. Extremely important. They may save your life. But if they tell us, I'll forget about all this stuff, okay. Then you leave someone who don't care about you to patrol your neighborhoods, right? Someone who don't care about you, don't have no connection to you to answer the call when something happens. So that means engagement. That means community engagement. That means working with law enforcement to get best practices. We have a responsibility, right? And that's family issues I'm talking about, right? That's from one side. So those are the three things. And when we think about them, they are life issues that we have to confront. And the best way to confront them is using our Islamic principles, understanding our importance as a people existing on the planet, and that we have to protect our family unit. All those three things are important. And from the side of Deen, they're all essential because our Sharia of Islam came. Khan is gone. Don't worry about him. Everybody got to do their thing. Everybody's on the hustle. We understand. No problem. Just not here. Uh, mhm. Our Deen, all of it, comes to protect certain things. So they call them maqasidu sharia, right? These are the objectives of the sacred law, right? And among them is the protection of religion. So being concerned, right, about Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah, Islam and its expression and its preservation, that is a part of our deen, right? That's a part of our deen. So when people are perverting in the Islamic creed or in practice, we're going to speak up. We're going to express the truth because that's part of protecting the religion, which is an objective of the sacred law. Protection of lineage, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us as a people, and we're not going to let no one make us an extinct people, either in physically or in meaning. Because right now on the Islamic scene in this country, we're like absent. You go and look where, and I see it because sometimes we go and we have these meetings with politicians. You don't see no African American representation in general on concerns of issues going on in the society. When they speak about Islam, it's immigrants talking on our behalf. They're not talking on our behalf, they're talking on their behalf, but it's as if the Muslims are represented, as if we're not, we don't count at all. So they're lobbying, doing everything, but it's not for us. Not at all. You're not even concerned. Nor are you asked, what is your concern to put on the table, right? That's important. So if we're going to protect our lineage and right and preserve it and go on from generation to generation. Someone asked me about uh um I see such and such, this group did this. And I have, even with my own teachers, mashallah, we have chains of narrations from generation to generation, from family, from groups to groups. I have some of our chains of narration, right? All of the scholars are from Syria. Some of them, all of them are from Yemen. Some of them, all of them are from Egypt. Some of them, all of them from the subcontinent. Like the whole chains of narration are like that, right? So I would relate from the sheikh who's Egyptian, and all of the sheikhs back in that chain are Egyptians. I relate from a sheikh that's Yemeni, and all of the sheikhs are Yemeni. I relate from a sheikh that's Indian, and all of those sheikhs are Indian, Pakistani, like that, right? Because Pakistan goes through India in its chain of narration. Same thing, Moroccan, right? Where's the chain for us as Black people that goes to our African ancestors that we are connected to? That's not promoted. It exists, but it's not even promoted. So many of us don't know it, right? It exists, but even among them, unfortunately, it's not spread, right? Unfortunately. And nor are we told about it a lot. So that's why the work of Imam Naim is a good work. It needs to be expanded big time because we have to actually learn something. And we're going to discover, we're going to end up teaching them how to preserve what they have. You'd be shocked, right? But that's a lot of work. Why do they want to exclude us or ignore us? There's many reasons for that. I would say one of the most problematic aspects of those reasons is racism. It exists, it's real. People have racist tendencies. And when they're in power, it's manifest even more, right? When they have power, it's manifest anymore, right? I live in Atlantic City, and I see it all the time. I fight it all the time too, but I see it all the time. It's like, as a Black imam, and our community is mixed. I can speak firsthand. Our community is mixed. It's originally an African American community. In Atlantic City, going back, when you heard Islam, all you saw was Black faces, right? Then, as immigrants moved in the community, it started to loosen up a little, loosen up, loosen up, loosen up, right? To today, the dominant body of Muslims in Atlantic City are immigrants. So if you go to the Masjid and you count the attendees, it's going to be mostly immigrants, very few African Americans. In all of the Masjid in the city, We have a lot. The where you want to see the African American Muslims is at a janaza. Then you'll see how many Muslims it is. Like I have to do a janaza today. I'm assuming I'm gonna see a bunch of people, right? Unfortunately, we became the janaza community, right? So that issue of them supporting their own concerns is obvious. We see it. It's not about because we have until and up until now the largest facility in the city, but they won't as a group come there. Only a section of them, and usually the ones who come, they don't like something that happened at the other masjid related to politics. So they come to Masjid Muhammad where there's no politics. Then there are those who really, like, sincerely learning the knowledge and they want to really learn and help. But that's very small group of people, right? And they would do things for their concern, and they only call on us when they can't get through to themselves. Assalamu alaikum, Imam Amin. How are you feeling, brother? MashaAllah. Alhamdulillah. I haven't heard from you in years. Now a roadblock got in your way and you need me. I already know the phone call, right? And they have no shyness in it. Brother, assalamu alaikum. Yeah, it happens. And I call them on it all the time. So for us, it's important that we realize these things and we act accordingly. So fine, you do what you got to do, and we have to do what we have to do. And inshallah, if we keep number one at the forefront, number one is always at the forefront, spreading the knowledge, teaching the correct way of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah, eventually, inshallah, we'll overcome this stuff. But in the meanwhile, we can't close our eyes to what is existing. It's very important because others are not going to change their mind. They haven't done it. They haven't done it. And most likely they're not going to do it. So the change has to come from us, right? Changing the whole environment, changing the whole dialogue has to come from us. And the key for us is us to become strong in the knowledge of the religion. Because many of us, because we don't know our religion well, we feel inferior when we encounter others. And that's just a fact. We don't know our religion well. So when we encounter others, we feel inferior. So hence these classes, so that you can learn your religion. And then when you learn, you'll know that the people you feel inferior to need to learn from you. They don't know themselves. They need to learn from you. They don't know themselves. They have abandoned the tradition that you're acquiring. They abandon it. And that's why you find that the kuffar's knee is on their necks. They abandon what we're learning. Unfortunately. As a whole, not every single individual, but as a whole, as a society, they abandon it. Even when you look at Saudi Arabia and they talk about this thing with Hajj, it seems like we forgot that most of those Saudi Arabians, their children been taught in Harvard, Princeton, Yale, in Oxford, Cambridge, and all these other Western universities. They go back home and they say, hey, they American as you in their understanding, as capitalist as you. And they start thinking, wait a minute, we're giving away unnecessary money. I'm not like my grandfather was a goat holder, a herder. I got a PhD, right? I got a PhD. I understand global economics. So they do what they got to do. All right, what about us? When we going to do what we have to do, right? Because they put so many blocks that prevent us from moving forward, we don't even realize it. Even the part of false doctrine. You don't think all of these people know? If you go to the Arab world, in every country, there are scholars fighting against corrupt creed. But that corrupt creed is creeped in our neighborhoods, and none of them came really to sincerely help us fight it. They used it as a means to get us to support them. We supported them, they built, then they left us. That has happened many times over and over and again. So those three things, I'm going to talk about the 3-4-5-3, but I wanted to touch those three things. Are those 3 points clear? Because they're very important. As to what we're doing, and I was telling the person that I was talking to yesterday, I said, listen, man, we don't share the same mission. Then they're not doing what we're doing. So really, we don't have that much in common. We're doing two different things. We're actually concerned about the plight of our people. They're in the business of making the plight of our people worse. We have nothing in common in regards to the second category. Even if we share the first category, the second category we don't share, right? So if we deal with them, our focus is going to go off because they don't care about number two. And number two is extremely important. And because they don't care about number two, they're not even thinking about number three. So, but their number two is for them. Take African American and put them in it. And their three, they're doing it and they're building. We the only ones that are not doing that. Every other group is doing number 2 and 3 for themselves. All you have to do is replace African American. You can put Pakistani, Bengali, Arab. You will find it. White. Only black folks are leaving this out. I'm talking about Muslims. You have, how many groups do you have? The Pakistani Association and their Muslims, political lobby, Bengali political lobby, Arab political lobby, Arab organization, Pakistani organization, Bengali organization, African lobby, African organization. Whites got their lobby. They do their stuff, right? Where's for the blacks? Where's for the blacks? And then you talk about black Muslims. Where? Show me. Doesn't exist, right? Because someone told us, forget yourself. And the lobbies that we do have are our non-Muslim family and relatives, and we should be influencing them with Islam. We should be influencing them, right? At least we should have our input, especially when we know that Islam is the best for us. We should have our input. But if someone told us to disengage while they engaging, then we're the ones that's being tricked. They tell us disengage while they engage. It doesn't work. And then that third element, man, that's going to be the roughest part. We have to stop being so selfish and think as a unit, right? That's the hard part. That's the hard part. So that's that's the first aspect of the scattered thoughts. Tomorrow, I'm going to go to the first one and expand, right? Which is spreading and teaching Islam according to the methodology of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah, which is our 3453, right? So tomorrow, I'm going to expand on that because that is really the most important element of our development as a community, that we get our Islam correctly, right? Wa alaikum salam, Habibi. Any questions before we go? Please fire away. Today is Wednesday. We'll have a class, but we won't read the books because our reader is traveling, and she won't be available. So we'll still continue, but we'll talk about the methodology of Imam al-Haddad and As-Sada al-Ba'alawi, which he represents. We'll talk about that. And some benefits, inshallah, for the 2 Wednesdays that she will be traveling, inshallah. And I remind you, almost forgot, this coming Saturday here in Atlantic City, New Jersey, we having our family cookout. All of you are welcome. I hope that most of you RSVP'd as you did. And it will be the Eid. So those who are coming, the Eid prayer begins at 8 o'clock, right? So try to get here early. I expect that we will have to do 2 Eids because of the combination of 2 things. But we're going to have a good day, inshallah ta'ala. And don't forget, there is our yearly Islamic knowledge competition of all we've been studying between the brothers and the sisters. Last year, the brothers beat the sisters real bad. This year, I hope they watch. This year, I hope they can get themselves together. Watch the sisters answer. No. Yeah, I'm just joking. There has to come a time when we work with other Muslims. When do you see that stage? Concurrently or post at some point? I think always you work with other Muslims, but you work with them in things that are beneficial for the whole, while you don't divert your attention from what is necessary for you. You know, so when we talk, we never talk in specific, we're talking in general. There's always Muslims from other ethnicities that you can work with. on certain things. But here's our problem. We'll work with others and we'll get on others' program and forget ours. That's a problem. There's nothing wrong with working with others. You should. And we must engage. We're an ummah, we're a nation, right? But we have specific concerns that are not the concerns of others. And all the time, what happens when we mix, we end up getting on their concerns and forgetting ours. That's a problem. So you can simultaneously work on your program while cooperating with others in that which is beneficial for the whole. But don't forget yourself. You follow what I mean by that? I see it all the time. We go learn and we become like other people and forget us. But those people never become like us. they never do what we're doing. We become them and we forget us. And that is not good. That's not good at all. Right? So yes, we're going to cooperate with others. We're going to work with others, and we must do that. But we're not going to forget ourselves. But if you be honest with yourself, if you work with others, be honest. And that's important, right? You work with others, right? How much are they doing inside your communities? Real work. I'm not talking about a feeding and giving away book bags. I'm talking about getting on the ground, helping you change your condition. How often do you see that? Really? Really working at the grassroots level to uplift your community. How much do you honestly see that? Be honest. That's a question. Be honest. How much do you see that? Really? You don't. You know it and I know it. The reason why the way I talk, the reason why I've been around a long time. And I spent most of my Islamic time in other communities. So I know what goes on. Most of my learning I spent in other communities around the world and in America. I know what goes on. So I'm not speaking like just guessing. I actually live it. I know what I'm talking about. I can point it out. I sat with sheikhs and imams and leaders and vice presidents of boards. I know where their mindsets are at. I've actually been with them. I'm not one of those guys who just sit in the crowd and I'm honored to be here. No, I'm up front in the back room. I understand what goes on. I know for some of them who really want to help, it's like pulling teeth. From some of them who really want to help, when they go to get help from others, it's like pulling teeth. We're going to go help the blacks. What are you talking about? And they don't even talk about the Latino community at all. Forget about it. That's not even a discussion. I know that for sure. And when they do help, it is so they can raise more money for their efforts. So they'll come in, they'll bring some stuff they got from the what's they call it? Uh, the food bank. They'll bring it to your community, put it in bags, get your imam or your thing to take some pictures, and then you take some pictures. MashaAllah, they're helping out, they're helping out. They take those pictures, put it on their website, go to their donors. See, we went in the community. They get more money, and then they go do what they're doing. Same stuff. And guess what? we're such in a bad situation sometimes that we accept that. Right? That's real stuff. So all I'm saying is, okay, that's fine, but start making people accountable and making real change and progress. You'll see. But that can't affect your heart because there are good people and real sincere people in every group of people. Allah made sincere people. And you just got to work with those people and not let the others affect your heart. Okay, Imari, we'll settle this Saturday. We'll see who won. Right? Uh, but we inshallah, we're going to have a good time. May Allah make it so. All right. And I don't mean by this that we shouldn't search out those good people that we could cooperate all around the board because they do exist, right? And when they are available, work it out. Work it out. All right, inshallah. Brothers, y'all better be geared up because Imam Naeem will not be able to make it. So y'all ain't gonna have that support y'all had last year. So Issa, everything gonna be on your back. You better study. Okay. Barakallahu bikum. Inshallah, we'll see you tonight at 6 o'clock for the study of the works and activities of Imam al-Haddad radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.